Focus especially on kitchen perimeters beneath sinks and along cabinet edges, where food residue accumulates and insects seek sustenance regardless of how clean you believe your surfaces appear. You will notice that the pepper scent dissipates quickly from the air, but the odor remains detectable to insects due to their heightened sensory perception, allowing you to leave traces undetectable to humans, but lethal to invaders. Reapply fresh powder every 30 days or after any deep cleaning that wipes down floors or baseboards, because water and vigorous scrubbing remove the protective layer. For severe infestations, increase concentration by adding a small amount of baking soda to the mixture, which expands the internal pressure of insects upon ingestion, providing additional lethal action when baited with small drops of sweet syrup nearby. Professional exterminators operating in urban centers with heavy pest pressures have documented the success of this method when applied consistently over a 90-day trial period. Cockroach populations dropped by over 80% in treated homes compared to untreated control houses relying solely on standard sanitation practices. The remaining insects avoided treated zones, entirely reducing visibility to near zero within 3 weeks of initial application. The total material cost for treating a 2,000 square foot home, including interior and exterior perimeters, was less than $5, including enough leftover powder for a second season of maintenance. Compare that to the annual service contracts quoted by local pest management companies ranging from $400 to $1,200 for quarterly visits that often required reopening sealed entry points to spray inside wall voids. The difference in outcome and risk profile is undeniable when you consider that synthetic chemicals persist in your carpets and upholstery for years, whereas this botanical barrier degrades safely into harmless dust over time. Every grocery store run has exposed your pantry to accidental spillover that attracts scout insects from the neighborhood. Every cracked basement window has invited wandering pests seeking shelter from extreme weather conditions outside. Every plumbing leak under the sink has created the humid microenvironment that allows egg sacs to hatch rapidly into mature adults within weeks. Insect damage on a daily basis is not a question of if, but when and how frequently, and the permanent solution has been sitting in your spice cabinet and garden center the entire time, waiting for someone to explain the chemistry that the pest control industry has known and profited from and deliberately concealed for 70 continuous years. The residential pest management industry generates $20 billion in annual revenue in the United States alone, from services that include preventive barrier coatings, prominently positioned near the top of their service menus. Franchise companies charge $50 to $100 per visit for general pest control inspections that use generic sprays containing pyrethroids that cause resistance, problems in subsequent generations of insects, making future treatment harder and more expensive. Mobile service operators mark up basic powder application by 2,000% or more, while using the same botanical principles accessible to anyone with a grocery receipt and a small mixing bowl. Service technicians quote high rates for exclusion work because the pricing is based entirely on what desperate homeowners will pay without questioning the underlying efficacy, rather than what the work actually costs in materials and travel time. They did not hide this knowledge because it was inherently unsafe or technically complicated or required hazardous certifications to execute correctly. They stopped sharing it because informed homeowners do not renew annual contracts, and informed homeowners tell their neighbors and friends, and suddenly an entire carefully constructed revenue stream begins collapsing because ordinary people realize they have been systematically overcharged for decades. But this technique never disappeared from the circles where long-term results matter more than quick service checks and quarterly billing cycles. Agricultural extension offices still reference botanical deterrents in sustainable farming publications because crop yields depend on minimizing chemical runoff into soil and water tables. Organic farm owners still use pepper dust barriers around barns and storage facilities because livestock health depends on non-toxic environments for animals consuming, feed and grazing on pasture. The old school gardeners who remember when pest control meant rotating crops and companion planting still pass these methods down to apprentices who understand that the best defenses are often the simplest, and that toxicity is frequently manufactured to justify pricing rather than required by the actual biology of the target pest. The knowledge survived intact in the spaces where ecology mattered more than extraction, and sustainability mattered more than speed, and natural balance mattered more than total eradication promises. If this video changed how you think about the crickets scuttling in your basement while you tried to ignore them because the pest control quotes seemed unreasonable for minor invasions, then subscribe right now and share this with every person you know who owns a home with wooden foundations. If this changed how you think about that pantry spider problem that you assumed would require professional fumigation, costing more than your weekly grocery budget, then take action today because the solution is already in your kitchen waiting to be deployed. If this changed how you think about that summer heat wave that brought swarms of unwanted guests into your AC-cooled sanctuary and you were afraid to use chemical sprays around your pets, then understand that you now possess the knowledge to defend your home permanently using materials costing less than a cup of coffee. Every share of this video puts another crack in the wall that the pest management industry spent decades building around knowledge that was never dangerous enough to justify their fees or exclusive enough to require their expertise. Every subscription keeps this channel digging deeper into the techniques that they assumed you would never discover and that they desperately hoped you would never think to question. Every comment, sharing your own story of DIY pest reduction, builds a community of informed homeowners who refuse to pay exploitation prices for simple botanical chemistry that anyone can master in a single afternoon in their own driveway. The next vault opens in exactly 7 days, and what waits inside is the single most effective method to purify contaminated water, using charcoal and sand filtration without any expensive filters or pumps, and without any of the complex multi-stage systems that outdoor supply retailers claim you absolutely need for survival scenarios. Subscribers with notifications enabled will see it first before the water filtration industry has time to organize another campaign of silence around simple gravity-based science that threatens their markup margins and challenges their carefully constructed mystique of technical necessity. The water belongs to everyone. The filtration principle was never theirs to monopolize, and your home deserves better than manufactured panic designed to extract maximum revenue from minimum actual threats. There's a powder found in your kitchen for $1 that destroys cockroach colonies faster than professional chemicals. And I am not talking about sprays that poison your air or baits that only kill half the nest, leaving the rest to breed another generation. I'm talking about a combination of common pantry staples that targets their nervous system and digestive tract simultaneously so effectively that an entire colony collapses within days of application, without you ever seeing a single dead body, because they retreat to the walls to die naturally. One sprinkling along baseboards and entry points creates an invisible death barrier that professional exterminators charge hundreds of dollars to replicate using synthetic poisons that linger in your home for years. Ancient Egyptian architects placed crushed dried peppers and salt mixtures around grain storage silos to prevent insect infestations that threatened famine during drought seasons. And Roman legionnaires carried pouches of spicy pepper blends to keep insects from destroying food supplies on long marches through Europe. The United States military documented the effectiveness of capsaicin compounds derived from hot peppers in field manuals dating back to World War II as a non-toxic deterrent for soft-bodied pests that could contaminate rations without compromising soldier safety. This mixture disrupts the chemical sensors cockroaches use to find food and navigate their environment, forcing them into panic states where they dehydrate and perish, while simultaneously attacking their exoskeleton integrity through contact irritation. No monthly service appointments that cost $50 to $100 each and require you to evacuate your home for hours while technicians pump toxic fog into your HVAC vents. No expensive gel baits that cost $20 per tube and take weeks to show results while the colony continues breeding unchecked behind your refrigerator. No mysterious powders with unreadable chemical labels listed as proprietary formulas that manufacturers refuse to disclose on safety data sheets. Just $1 worth of cayenne pepper or black pepper powder mixed with a common kitchen binder and strategically applied to create a perimeter defense that turns your home into a fortress against invasion. Then someone in a pest control trade association meeting calculated the lifetime value of a customer and realized the threat that this simple knowledge represented to their recurring revenue model. The global pest control industry generates over $20 billion annually in the United States alone, with residential service contracts accounting for nearly 70% of that revenue stream. The average homeowner spends $400 to $800 per year on preventative pest maintenance plans that guarantee repeat customers for decades because the problem is never permanently solved. A $1 solution that eliminates existing colonies and prevents future infestations without recurring monthly fees is not a consumer convenience to share with public health departments and extension offices. It is a business model disruption that threatens the foundation of an industry built on perpetual service dependency. They did not stop recommending this approach because it was ineffective. They did not suppress this technique because it was dangerous to children or pets compared to their synthetic alternatives. They stopped sharing it because every household that learned this method became a lost customer for life, removing the predictable income that supports their corporate infrastructure and technician payroll. This is the story of the capsaicin alkaloid barrier, the ancient insect defense strategy that industrialized agriculture buried under marketing campaigns, designed to convince you that bugs are inevitable and professionals are necessary. Welcome to Forbidden Camping, where we open the vaults, the pest management industry welded shut, and shine light into the dark corners, where profitable secrets have been hidden from homeowners who deserve full ownership of their living space. If this knowledge matters to you, and if you believe that protecting your family from invasive pests should not require paying subscription fees to chemical companies, then the subscribe button and notification bell ensure these techniques survive another generation and reach everyone who refuses to accept manufactured infestations as normal. Here we return the methods the industry priced out of your awareness through strategic silence, and here we prove that the barrier between you and a pest-free home was never advanced equipment, but only information deliberately withheld from consumers. Now let me take you back to where this chemistry was first understood and why everything you think you know about cockroach control was constructed by people who profit from your dependence on monthly chemical treatments. The science of botanical pest resistance predates recorded history, and the fundamental principles were utilized by indigenous cultures worldwide long before the invention of synthetic pesticides or the establishment of modern pest control corporations. Native American tribes across North America processed dried chili peppers into fine dusts to protect corn cribs and storage granaries from destructive insects, including cockroaches, beetles, and ants that threatened winter survival supplies. These tribal elders understood something critical about insect biology that modern agronomists tried to forget during the 20th century Green Revolution. They understood that insects communicate through chemical trails left by pheromones, and that introducing overwhelming sensory noise through volatile organic compounds could scramble their navigation systems, effectively blinding them to food sources and shelter locations. Capsaicin, the active compound in hot peppers, binds to thermal receptors in insects, causing a sensation of burning and distress that forces immediate evacuation of treated areas without necessarily killing them immediately, which prevents them from carrying contamination back into feeding zones. By the 19th century, agricultural journals in Europe began documenting the use of pepper extracts as garden deterrents, but interest waned with the arrival of mass-produced DDT and organophosphate pesticides that promised total eradication. Governments and chemical manufacturers lobbied heavily to replace traditional botanical remedies with synthetic solutions that required repeated applications, creating consistent demand for new products year after year. A 1924 USDA extension report explicitly noted the efficacy of pepper dust on stored grain pests, but this document was quietly archived away from public view. As chemical sales skyrocketed in the post-war era, the fundamental toxicity of high-concentration capsaicin to soft-bodied arthropods was never in question. It simply conflicted with quarterly earnings projections for public-facing pest management firms. Before I reveal the exact mixture and application protocol I need to tell you about the complete forbidden camping vault, where I have compiled every suppressed technique the home maintenance and survival industries have buried for decades because they profit from your continued reliance on services you could perform yourself. The solar battery charging system that keeps emergency power available indefinitely without monthly utility bills or grid dependence. The rust conversion treatment that transforms active corrosion into permanent protection for $3 worth of tannic acid, using the same chemistry blacksmiths used 2,000 years ago. The headlight restoration method that reverses years of UV oxidation without expensive sanding kits that auto parts stores push on every customer. The engine cleaning technique that removes 20 years of carbon buildup with common kitchen ingredients that cost less than a fast food meal. The scratch removal compound that eliminates clear coat damage in 60 seconds flat using materials from your garage. The windshield rain repellent that makes wipers unnecessary even in heavy storms. The fuel system cleaner that dissolves varnish deposits and restores horsepower without expensive mechanic services. The wiper blade restoration technique that extends rubber life beyond designed obsolescence timelines. And now the cockroach elimination barrier that protects your home for pennies instead of hundreds of dollars. 9 complete home defense guides in one vault with zero filler, and every page built for immediate real-world results that you can verify yourself. The link is in the description right now, and the knowledge inside will pay for itself the first time you cancel a pest control contract you never needed to begin with. But stay here with me, because the actual application process is about to make professional pricing look like consumer exploitation, and you need to understand exactly why this works at the biological level before you deploy it in your own home. After World War II ended and the chemical industry shifted focus from wartime munitions production to civilian agricultural and household markets, pest control companies rebranded themselves from sanitation experts to necessity providers. They convinced homeowners that cockroaches were not merely a hygiene issue, but a health crisis that required specialized intervention beyond the capabilities of ordinary residents. Insurance companies began linking home ownership requirements to regular pest inspection reports, creating artificial market demand that forced even clean homes into service agreements. The actual material costs for botanical pest deterrents remain minimal today, as they were in the 1950s. A few dollars worth of organic spice powder and a handful of cotton balls can treat an entire house perimeter for months of protection. But the billing structure that emerged in the post-war era told a completely different story to customers who did not understand what they were actually paying for. A service that cost $1 in consumable materials could be billed at $500 or more when wrapped in professional terminology like integrated pest management or residual barrier treatment, and performed with trucks equipped with fogging machines that created psychological fear in homeowners. The industry discovered that anxiety was more valuable than education because anxious customers paid premium prices without asking uncomfortable questions about whether the chemical fog was necessary versus the dust method. Industry associations representing pest management services began actively discouraging the distribution of DIY pest control information through media channels and local schools because every informed homeowner was a lost sale for a lifetime contract. Trade publications that had previously shared gardening and pest advice freely stopped publishing those helpful articles after receiving pressure from advertisers selling synthetic chemicals and equipment. The editorial position shifted from empowerment to alarmism, and suddenly bug infestations became unmanageable emergencies, requiring professional evacuation rather than simple chemistry that any adult could apply. The compounds themselves remained technically available in grocery stores under various spice brand names, but the knowledge of how to combine them for maximum pest impact became increasingly restricted to professional circles, protected by liability insurance structures designed to discourage amateur experimentation. The message became clear over decades of repetition through television ads and radio spots: do not handle pest yourself, leave it to licensed professionals. Do not touch the chemicals directly, trust our trained applicators, and do not ask too many questions about what ingredients you are breathing in your own living room. If you have made it this far in this video, you already understand more about natural pest deterrents than 90% of pest control sales representatives who simply recommend monthly spraying packages whenever a homeowner mentions seeing a single insect in the corner of a window. You understand that the complexity is manufactured for profit rather than inherent to the biology of the pest. You understand that the solutions are fundamentally botanical and have been effective for centuries before the chemical age began. And you understand that the only thing standing between you and a pest-free home has always been information that was deliberately withheld from you by people who benefited financially from your fear and dependence. The mixture itself requires 2 common ingredients that you can find at any grocery store or spice rack, or that you probably already have in your home right now, waiting to be combined into a barrier that works exactly like expensive commercial deterrents, costing 50 times more. Ingredient number 1 is cayenne pepper powder, which provides the active capsaicin compound that insects perceive as a burning threat to their sensitive respiratory systems. Cayenne is readily available in almost any supermarket spice aisle, typically costing between $1 and $2 for a small container that contains enough powder for multiple treatments across several rooms in your home. Look for pure cayenne powder without fillers or additives, reading the ingredient list to confirm it is 100% dried, and ground chili peppers without anti-caking agents that might dilute potency. Ingredient number 2 is diatomaceous earth food grade, which acts as a physical desiccant that pierces the exoskeleton of insects, causing fatal dehydration without introducing any chemical toxins into your indoor air. While technically a mineral powder rather than a spice, it is commonly sold in kitchen and garden sections alongside cooking ingredients and serves as the delivery vehicle that carries the pepper scent deep into crevices. Food-grade diatomaceous earth is safe for human and animal contact, unlike pool-grade versions which contain crystalline silica and must be clearly labeled on packaging. To prepare your pest defense barrier mix, equal parts cayenne pepper powder and food-grade diatomaceous earth in a small glass jar with a tight sealing lid. Shake vigorously until the colors blend evenly, resulting in a pale orange dusty mixture that smells sharply of peppers. This creates a dual action compound where the chemical irritation forces insects to flee and the physical abrasion damages their protective outer shell, making escape impossible once trapped in treated zones. The mixture stays dry and stable for years when stored properly, meaning you can prepare a large batch once and keep it ready for any sudden intrusion or seasonal migration of pests seeking warmth. The pepper scent masks the smell of your home from insects using olfactory cues to locate food, while the fine dust clings to their bodies, making them carry the deterrent further into hiding spots where it spreads to other colony members through grooming behaviors. Now here is the application process that delivers long-term protection and makes professional pricing look like deliberate consumer exploitation. First, identify all potential entry points around your home, including gaps under doors cracks and foundation seams around window frames, openings for utility pipes and ventilation shafts that lead outside. Use a flashlight and mirror to inspect dark basements, crawl spaces, and behind appliances where moisture levels are higher and insect populations concentrate during warmer months. Apply a thin line of your prepared mixture along every identified entry point using a small plastic spoon or a dedicated shaker bottle for precision control. Wear a dust mask during application to avoid inhaling the fine particles, even though food-grade materials are considered safe, and keep pets and children away from the area until the dust settles and air clears.